Everybody, this is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast with part number 2 of 10 issues the Raiders are facing heading into training camp. Again, this is part 2 of 10 issues facing the Raiders heading into training camp. One of the most important things about this team is obviously they have to get off high center when it comes to the offense. This has been a prolifically not good offense over the entire time of which I've covered them. They have just not been successful. They've not worked well. They've not been able to get this team functioning the way an offense in the National Football League will. We've talked before about the new approach, and I love the approach of Chip Kelly. It's the first time since I've been here on the offensive side of the football where the mentality was, I'm going to adjust my scheme to fit the personnel that I have. That tells you a lot about Chip Kelly as an offensive mind. It tells you a lot about his approach. And quite frankly, it tells you a lot about Pete Carroll's approach. That you can't be so dogmatic about something and stick to it. One of the things, and let me just say this right up front, I have immense respect for John Gruden as a football coach. I like him as a person, and I like him as a football coach. But if I were to identify, and all of us have them, his weaknesses, it would be that he's such an offensive mind that there were times I felt like he had more faith in his ability to call a play than than was rooted in reality. So for example, when John would coach, there would be multiple times that you knew the play that was coming. Well, so did the defense. And I think that hurt the Raiders. Again, I respect John. I like John. I think he's a great coach. This isn't about, but it's just talking brass tacks reality of where the Raiders offense has been. Then along comes Chip Kelly and says, no, I'm not married to a scheme. If you don't believe that, go look at Chip Kelly before Oregon. Go look at him at Oregon. Go look at him at all of his other stops in the NFL and in the college football world. And finally look at where he ended up with Ohio State last year. That was not an offense that, in my opinion, was even remotely similar to what they did in Oregon. Yet I thought they were both terrific offenses. Why? His personnel. He adapted what he wanted to do. Now, this is where you've heard me use the term before of both of us end up at the same place, but we take a different route. Follow me here for a moment, please. And whether you look at him at Oregon, you look at Chip Kelly at Ohio State, both places, they ended up with a great prolific offense. Both places got there on a different route on the map. And that's something that I really like about where the Raiders are going right now. And that is they know they want to have a prolific ball control offense. And you can do that with throwing, or you can do it with running, or a combination of both. But yet they're not married to the scheme. I even believe this, you're going to see them different at the end of the year than the beginning. Why? Well, there's going to be injuries. Players are going to adapt. Players are going to be better. And that's going to make this offense better. So this brings us to conundrum number 2 in my 10-part series of questions facing the Raiders. Here's what it is. It's the running back room. This team knows what they want to accomplish, which is a prolific ball control offense. They're committed to wanting to run the football, which is fine. They're not married to any one way to do it. But for this team to be successful, that running back room has got to become consistent. So it's conundrum number 2 is figuring out the running back room. So let's break this down to the brass tacks. Let's start with Ashton Jeanty. He is the best running back to be in the National Football League draft since Saquon Barkley. The Raiders are not the only team that felt that. He was considered by every good drafting team to be an elite back. And this is a guy with legit. Now, there was Omarion Hampton, was another running back that people liked better than him. About 25% of the teams liked Omarion Hampton better than Ashton, and that was because Ashton had some fumbling issues. Okay, the Raiders were not concerned about the fumbling issues, and I trust the Raiders. So they weren't concerned about it. So with that said, they selected Ashton, who many people believe the best running back since Saquon. Not one person told me they thought he was as good as Saquon, but many people said the best since Saquon. So here's what we do. We start there. He is your RB1. He is going to be a back that is going to get many, and the majority. Majority. The 3 M's of the Raider back room, the majority of the carries. They want him to have the ball in his hands. He is an explosive player. He is very difficult to tackle. He has tremendous balance. If you don't come at him as a defender with perfect form, he can slip that tackle and be gone. He is an elite talent. During minicamp and during OTAs, it was abundantly clear, even with no hitting, of his ability to just move. There was one particular drill, where the guys come up and they just tap him. And where, his ability to just sidestep. Now, he does something, and again, I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders. There'll never be another Barry Sanders. But one thing that Barry Sanders did really, really well, and some people call it a sidestep, some people call it a jump step, but it's where you're going directly at somebody and then move laterally. Just boom, boom. And then instantly accelerate and get back up the field. And I saw that two or three times in OTAs and minicamp where he just gone. You can't teach that. You either have that or you don't. It's just reality. And Ashton has it. And it's now, does that mean he's going to translate and be the best running back in the National Football League? No, doesn't mean that. Could. Doesn't mean it as a rookie. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to have to develop. There's going to be fumbles this year in Ashton. And when they happen, you just say, I remember Uncle Hondo told me that. That's a maturation process. Remember Tiki Barber, who ended up being a great back, struggled with that terribly with fumbles, but they were able to coach that out of him. The Raiders are fine. The Raiders got great coaching at the running back position. Great. They don't have good coaching. They have great coaching. So they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine with their coaching. And Ashton is teachable and coachable, but they're going to have to get him up to speed and get him acclimated to the NFL game. Now, there's going to be some major adjustments for him. Let me give you a couple. Many of you know that TJ Duckett, a terrific running back, was one of the number one recruits coming out of high school. A tremendous running back, big burly back, different back than Ashton, not the same. But he ran a 4.3 40. 4.40, right in that range. Was a big, fast back. First round selection of the Atlanta Falcons. So him and I were having lunch one time. And I asked him about, the adjustment going from high school to college and college to the NFL. And he made a comment that he had never been caught from behind before. And I want you to think about that. Literally, never been caught from behind before. And he talked about first week in pads in the NFL. He got tackled from behind, and he looked back to see who did it. And it was a defensive lineman. And he talked about the adjustment to the NFL was most difficult because of speed. Now, he had a very successful career, played many years in the NFL, but the point is that he had to learn, all right, it's not just speed anymore. Ashton has great speed. This is not going to be an issue with him with speed, but he's going to have to adjust to the NFL game. Everybody's good now. The worst player on anyone's team is still a phenomenal player. So when you look at the running back room and you're looking at conundrums the Raiders are going to face, the issue that you want to know is that they're going to have to acclimate Ashton to the NFL game. Now, there are times that Ashton, and this is a compliment by the way, will duck his head to pick up an extra yard. That's great if you're driving for a winning touchdown. That's great if that extra yard is a first down. But there's going to have to be times where he just learns how to step out of bounds. There's no reason to risk your body for injury for 1 yard. Step out of bounds, go back and do the next play. But he's very aggressive. Now, luckily, fortunately for Ashton, he's built like a Sherman tank. He's not the biggest guy in the room, but he looks literally like God took a chisel and a hammer and just forged him out of titanium. Phenomenal shape. Okay, so he can handle it. It isn't an issue like with Jaden Daniels, where there's so much concern because of his frame. Jaden's tough, but that frame brings great concern with him. Okay, with Ashton, the frame is there, the toughness is there, but still, in the NFL game, it's about carries and preserving your body. Listen, Ashton Jeanty is going to be a great player. And if the Raiders are going to be great, which is absolutely the direction and focus they want to have, then they need Ashton Jeanty to be there for the entire 17 games. And then when this team starts making playoff runs every year, they need him there. They need him there. And so he's going to have to acclimate to the game, the speed of everyone around him, doing things with his body, learning the offense. Now, one thing about Ashton is he has a very high football IQ. Very smart kid, by the way. Not only a terrifically wonderful kid, very smart kid. And so he's going to have to learn the system, learn it's going to be all new verbiage. I have tremendous respect for the football team he played for in college, Boise State, but it's not Chip Kelly and it's not the NFL. He's going to learn a bunch of new verbiage. He's going to learn a massive amount of more plays. And so you have to acclimate him. Now, again, the thing with Ashton that makes him special is that, when you pick some guys, you're saying, man, I hope they can learn all this. I hope. There's no hope here. There's confidence with Ashton. But these are still things the Raiders are going to face heading into training camp. He is going to be a humongous part of this offense, so they've got to acclimate Ashton Jeanty. The second thing you got to talk about is Raheem Mostert. Now, Raheem was a Pro Bowl running back. He's already a Pro Bowl human being, but he was a Pro Bowl running back before injury. Last year was not his best year by any stretch of the imagination, but last year he was in the process of. There was a lot of people that were shocked that Miami let him go. And they were like, man, if he is healthy, that was a dumb move by Miami. Now, I don't cover that team. I don't know it intimately enough to have an opinion. But what I do know is this. They believe, the Raiders do, that he's healthy and ready to go. They believe he's going to step in and be ready. Now, why is this important? Because we're going to talk about the second, third, and fourth running back spot. Ashton is going to get the majority carries and should get the majority carries, by the way. That's not a critique. It's factual and it's truthful and it should be that way. Is going to get the multiplicity of carries. But there is going to be times when he breaks off big runs and you got to give him a blow and you got to put your second running back in. And if Mostert is healthy, he's going to be that guy. He is a terrific player. For the Raiders to have a young Ashton Jeanty who has nothing but stardom written all over him, backed up by a guy who's a year away from being an elite running back, and that was 23, not 24, who is healthy now, that is a very, very big deal. Because you want to be able to do a little bit of change of pace. You want to be able to do some trickeration. You want to be able to, and Mostert has a little bit different toolbox, things that he does differently. Now, if you were saying to me, you have one pick as your QB1, as your RB1, and it's going to be Ashton or Raheem, I'm going to take Ashton. Not because I have disrespect for Raheem. I think he's a great player, but he's older. He's not as young as Ashton. He has more wear out on the tires. But this is a guy that is healthy. They believe is completely healthy. I'm not a doctor. I can't say that, but they believe is completely healthy. And so now he is set up in a really unique way to go out and really demonstrate what he's able to do. He is older. He does have more on the tires. So he doesn't have to do as much. He has Ashton. This is a great place. You talk about the circle of life. This is a great place for him to be. He is there. He is a terrific player if he's healthy, which they believe he is. He's going to when he has a chance to get that rock, you're not saying, gee, I hope he can do it. You know he can. So imagine Ashton breaks off a big run and gets tackled at the 1. Okay? And let's say he goes down in a weird way and maybe gets the breath knocked out of him. So he's got to go off the field. You feel completely confident Raheem's going to take the rock and get over the goal line. You have no concerns about that. He's healthy. You don't have any concerns about that. He is a great back for a reason. Now, staying with him at number 2, you then have to talk about the battle at 3 and 4. You have to look at Zamir White, who the second half of 23, many believe was the best back in the NFL. Many believe that, myself included. 24, injury issues, coaching issues. All right, fine. The point is, he has a proven track record of what he can do. So you look at Zamir White and say, all right, if he's the Zamir White of the second half of 23, there's no issues with him either. Then you look at Sincere McCormick, who last year, he burst on the scene. You may remember last training camp when I was talking about guys who were on the bubble. I talked about Sincere. I said, he'll show flashes, but he hasn't put it all together. Now, I'm not blaming the Raiders coaching staff for missing that because he wasn't visible through multiple coaching staffs. That's on him. But guys mature and grow, and Sincere did, and he looked phenomenal last year. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, OTAs and minicamp, he looked phenomenal. He ran angry. He ran like he was mad at the field. He just ran. Now, I saw those same things in Zamir. And remember, there's no hitting, so it's the underwear Olympics. It doesn't really matter. And so, but I thought Sincere looked phenomenal. His ability to cut, it was really hot one day. In fact, it was a day that I thought I had gotten heat stroke so bad. I was bad shape. And I'm sitting there watching, and it was so hot. I remember it's always hot in Vegas, but I mean, it was really hot. And he's taking the ball, and the Raiders are, I'm going to think they're at the offense's 20-yard line. And every time he touched the ball, he ran to the end zone. And he just looked sincere, ran mad. Like he was mad about his injury last year. And I like that. I like it. Now, I'm going to say this right up front. All four of these running backs, I really like. I like them as I like. I know Zamir and Sincere, I believe, very well. Fine young men, just terrific people. Take football out of it. I don't know Ashton as well. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But people I know who know him really well and talking to players, they feel the same. Great kid. And Raheem, um, I don't know him at all, but everybody I know who knows him well really sings the same praises. So you got a room here with four very talented guys. You know, when you sit here and you look at Tommy Millott or a Dylan Labe, and when you're talking about the potential fifth spot, I already made my roster projection. So, but my point is, you're saying, gee, I wonder if they can translate to the NFL, and gee, I wonder if they can do it. Okay, those are all legitimate questions. You don't have those questions with any of the top four running backs on the Raiders. You know Zamir can do it because he's done it. You know Sincere can do it. He's done it. When you are a coach like Chip Kelly, who now you have four legit running backs who have a proven, there's no hoping. I mean, let's be frank. They're hoping Ashton Jeanty can live up to the hype because he hasn't done it. Now, do you have reason to believe he can? Yes. But you have faith. I mean, you have hope, but you're not sitting there with faith right now. You have a lot of hope. And you're not that way with any rookie. And you shouldn't be with any rookie. But still, you got four guys, three of them proven great runners in this league when used effectively. Proven. And one that is not proven in the NFL, but he has all the tools in his toolbox, and you feel really comfortable, and that's Ashton. So as they discuss this running back room and the conundrum, they need someone to step up quick. Now, I don't see any of the 2, 3, and 4 beating out Ashton. I don't see it. So I'm not putting that in the equation. Okay. But does one of those young backs, Zamir and Sincere, who wins that battle? And then whoever wins it, do they have the possibility of beating out an older Raheem? I think Sincere and Zamir in this league, and not in preseason, in this league, have demonstrated an ability and a talent level to be an elite running back. They both have demonstrated, and it's not just over one game. I think Zamir has more good tape than Sincere, but they both have real tape. I can go today, if I'm Chip Kelly, and go down to the cafeteria, get a great salad and a piece of steak, go up to my office and turn on film and feel really good that I've got Zamir or Sincere. I feel really good about that. So then the battle is who wins that? Then does one of them beat Raheem? Hey, it's a possibility. But they've got to get this running back room settled. Remember, it's settled with Ashton, but they've got to get him experience and got to get him acclimated. If Raheem's healthy, they're just solid there. But then they got to get 3 and 4 worked out. And then here's a question. I personally, because they're both under very good deals for the Raiders, would not trade Zamir or Sincere. That's why I had them both making the 53. If those guys are back to where they should be, and your coaching's where it should be, and I believe it is, You got two solid backs. Okay, but remember, Spytek's always going to have an eye on the future. So if you're sitting here with two young running backs, oh, by the way, with an Ashton, then you have to ask yourself, all right, if I feature Sincere and Zamir in the preseason, and they're able to demonstrate to the rest of the NFL how talented they are, and they're back to the form that they've put on tape, now do I consider a trade? I wouldn't, because you can't. Depth is too important. It is one thing to have a great roster of starters. That's great. But that does not win Super Bowls. Super Bowls are built on depth. Now, he may say, listen, I got Zamir and Sincere. I have Ashton. I got Raheem. I'm getting a good enough offer to let Zamir or Sincere go, pick up a future draft pick, or maybe another young player that they really believe in. I can live with that. But somebody's going to have to knock my shoes off to get me to do that. But number 2 in our conundrums facing, in our 10-part series facing the Raiders, is figuring out the running back room. Not figuring it out like, is there people here with talent? It's just addressing these issues that we talked about. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please join me on Threads at Hondo SR. Same way with IG at Hondo SR. X is at Hondo Carpenter. And as always, we are pumping out tremendous amounts of volume when you go to si.com/NFL/Raiders. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.